everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Discover New Music podcast from Pelt Music. Shortly, we will be chatting with Call to the Faithful about their latest single, The Problem. But before then, just the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Pelt Music on social media. We are on Facebook at Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. Well, welcome, Call to the Faithful, to the Discover New Music podcast. We're absolutely delighted to have you guys on. We've recently featured your single, The Problem, over on our Discover New Music playlist on Spotify. So we're going to be chatting to you about the single in just a moment, but obviously before we get to that, we start every podcast exactly the same, and it's with a feature we call the origin story. So obviously the podcast is designed for people that perhaps aren't familiar with the band, so just as a way of introducing yourselves, how did Call to the Faithful come together? What is the origin story for the band?
Do you want to take this, Ethan? Yeah, this is always your one. You're the glue that holds us together. So
the linchpin. So me and Will, we're in a band. We're in a little indie band called Pay More, and it sort of fizzled out. I left, and I said to Will, "Hey, shall we just go play some music? Because we like playing music still." So we went and we thought we could do some Royal Blood covers. And I'd been in a band with Matt, like my first ever band. What were we called?
Barrymore's Pool Party.
Barrymore's Pool Party. And we had one song. I think it's still on YouTube. And we played one gig. It's still on YouTube. We played one gig. And I thought at the time, well, Matt's not in a band anymore because we're not in a band anymore. Me and Will aren't in a band. Let's just do some Royal Blood covers. So we went to Rocket Park, which has sort of been like the hub of Call to the Faithful. I've been to Rocket Park since the day it opened. It's a real cool, independently run music studio in Peterborough, run by a guy called Oz. And yeah, it's just a real great space. You can record there, you can practice there. It's just a real great space to have, and it's reasonably priced as well, so it doesn't break the bank.
Are you getting commission?
Are you on commission? Yeah.
I'm still. I've been going there for like 10 years. I'm still waiting on a free room, so I'm hoping this is sort of what gets the, or a little plaque with my name on the wall or something. Do you know what I mean? So then we started playing. Then we invited our friend Joycey to come play guitar, and then I was in the Met Lounge one day, and I hadn't seen Oscar for years. Me and Oscar went to school together. He was a year below me. We played a couple of bit of guitar once or twice together. We'd had a couple of chats.
We were those kids that hung out in the music room every now and again, and we'd pass each other. Yeah. And then we'd always get kicked out.
Just nerds.
Virgins.
Yeah, emotional rejects. Yeah, so. We had our guitars, and that was fun. And so me and Oscar weren't very popular at school. And I was in the Met Lounge in Peterborough one day, and this fucking beast walked in, and I thought, who the hell was that? I looked at him, I was like, is that Oscar Smith? And he'd been wrapped in a what's it called? What the fucking caterpillars go into? I can't remember.
Cocoon.
Chrysalis.
He's been encased in a chrysalis. Now out popped this beautiful butterfly, and I went up to him, and I think I must have been trying to get his number or something. I just drawn to him, and I said, we started chatting, and I said, "Oh, do you want to be in a band?" And he was just like, "Yeah." And because he was in I think you were in Velocity at the time, weren't you? Your cover bands. And,
well, I was in the cover band, and then I was in another band called 30 Days, and that we literally had our last gig on that day or something like that. And then it was and it just quickly it's like a monkey swung from one branch to another, and I was like, I want to keep the original thing going, and so I hopped in. Yeah.
So then we became. I think at that point then we were we Called to the Faithful then, or were we a band called Two Finger Handshake?
Two Finger Handshake at that point.
Yeah, Two Finger Handshake. So then we played.
Awful name.
Awful, great name. We did a couple of practices. I don't think we ever gigged under Two Finger Handshake, and then Oscar decided to leave. We had to get him.
Because of the name.
Yeah, this will never work. So we got another
we were terrible. In. We were so shit at that point as well.
We were awful, to be fair. But then we got another guitarist in. We wrote some songs. We got another couple of guitarists in, to be fair. We've had a few guitarists. We won't go into that. And then we played a couple of gigs. And then one of our guitarists needed to come out of the band for a day because he needed to. He had a personal commitment, which was fine. We don't mind personal commitment. He just wanted, it was holiday. That was it. So I said to Oscar, "Would you mind just filling in for the day?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course I can." So he filled in. And then at the end of the gig, he said, "I think you might need to be in the band again, mate." And so we had to get rid of the other guitarist. Oscar came back in, and then we played small gigs. And then Joycey, he ended up leaving, and we just became the fourth piece of Call to the Faithful, and that's sort of where we are today.
No, it's a beautiful story, and obviously, fate.
I'm sorry.
No, that's interesting. Obviously, a lot of the stories we get as well. Yeah, we met in school, or we met doing this, or whatever. No, it's interesting to get a more elongated story. Obviously, could make a movie out of that. Obviously, Oscar's Willie won't join moments. And, obviously, eventually here we are, and I say it must be fate that you guys were brought together.
Such a tease, Oscar.
just teasing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just stringing you guys along, but eventually, obviously, the happy ending to the movie because Oscar's joined and you guys are together, and you guys have just put out The Problem, which is a absolutely fantastic little track that we've really enjoyed. Hence, we've stuck it on the playlist. And we want to just chat to you guys a little bit about The Problem now. So obviously listeners can check it out on our playlist. They can also check out on all streaming sites for the band, and obviously there's a video on YouTube that we can touch on again in a minute as well. But tell us about The Problem. What is the song about? How did the song come together? What is the story for The Problem?
This is your
Do you
song,
want me to take?
Oscar? Yeah,
so the problem's probably in terms of the way we write the songs in the band, I tend to come with a riff or a completed song, and then I show it to the band, and everybody writes their own parts, and then we jam it all out together, and we put the Call to the Faithful spin on it. But it really comes in with a seed that starts from me. And so the problem for me was I'm generally quite an angry person, like not a kind but angry person, angry at the world. And it was my attempt at writing. Since I've been heavily inspired recently by the honesty and the simplicity of the lyrics from bands like Idols, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. Who else is in that? There'll be loads of other bands in that kind of scene as well. But there's a way of saying really obvious things that you might say in a conversation, but have them sound a bit more profound or a bit more, or simple in a song. Because when you can write simple lyrics, people relate to it more, and you want to try and be as honest as you can with the way you're feeling and describing things, so you can convey your message to as many people as possible. So it's the closest attempt we've ever managed to get of really truly expressing where the anger that we feel, where the problems are these days, and how we feel about them. And it's without any kind of, which trying to put these out there without any metaphors, without any hidden meanings. It's just a raw rock and roll, it is what you get song, and that's reflected in the simplicity of the groove, the main riff, and then the lyrics themselves are very much, everything in the song is, it's almost a fact to a point. There's not really that much frou-frou surrounding the song. It's a simple, bare bones, this is us, this is how we feel. I'm pretty sure you all feel the same, and if you do, let's have this anthem together and be angry together and have a big cathartic mosh pit. And that's what the song was about for me. You
really do have a little dog that thinks it's a big dog.
I do, and his name's Sid. Yeah.
I went
Which
to
I could get him
Oscar,
actually.
he barked at me. He really asserted his dominance to me. I thought, oh, fair enough.
Just got to throw some ham at him and then distract him, and then he like returns to like normal size.
Dogs can detect dark intentions, Ethan, and see something in you.
Oh, but that opening verse does really ring true. When I heard it, that instantly stuck to me. And the press release for the single calls it a anthem for the disenfranchised, and obviously we're in the cost of living crisis at the minute. So I mean, the relevance of this song is absolutely huge at the moment. And I know you guys are based in and around Peterborough, and this isn't a shot at Peterborough whatsoever, because I've spent a lot of time in Peterborough, and I really do have a lot of time for Peterborough. I do like the place, but obviously perhaps it's one of the places that probably is gonna signify the meaning behind the song more than perhaps certain other places in the country. So obviously as far as the meaning and the lyrics behind the song, obviously it's something that you clearly feel passionate about, which is great.
Exactly, and the thing is, most places are really where people live to work, is what it feels like. It feels like not really everybody lives in a place that's worth living in. You live there because you're working to get through it or to get by, and that's where a lot of the lyrics from the song comes in. It's like, although we might be in this nice little bubble where by any measure of success you've got like your big TV, you've got a nice new car, but you accumulate to have all these things. You in our generation, in our lifetime, you're accumulating more debt, which then brings in so many other issues with spiraling into mental health cycles and everything like this. And it feels like when you don't have a way out, and then you're being given terrible advice by people who are so disconnected, that's the problem, and it doesn't help anybody. So I feel like it was the best way of reflecting. If I feel like this, I'm sure everybody else is in this situation where you kind of feel like you're drowning, and you just get above board, and then something will happen that will knock you back into place. So you're not really living, you're just surviving. And that's the problem.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And you say about the terrible advice. I mean, obviously, clearly we should be listening to these politicians that are telling us, well, why don't you just get a better paid job? I mean, why didn't I think of that? Oh,
yeah. At this point, I'm getting all the degrees, everything to do that, and then there's nothing to get as well. So it's like, so I followed the plan through that. You told us this is the route to success, and then fuck, it's a dead end route. So no, I've got to commend it to you guys, being willing to talk about such subjects. And obviously, you've touched on some great bands that are doing that, but I've, in a number of articles that I've written for the website over the last year or two, commented on the fact that a lot of bands these days are almost too scared to touch on the political side of things, because obviously you've seen the battle in this country in particular over the last few years, and if your opinion doesn't match mine, then I'm not going to listen to your music, is probably what the bands are thinking. And obviously when it's hard enough for musicians as it is, a lot of bands tend to play it safe and avoid that subject. So so I've got to commend you guys for being willing to hit on that. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
And we'll stick with the problem, because I checked out the video on YouTube as well. So I just want to touch on the video, because how was that for you guys to film? So obviously, listeners, we'll stick a link in the description of the podcast, and you can click through and watch the video. Was it literally done in the one take, obviously, as it goes round and round? And what was that like for you guys? That must have been quite a tricky one.
We had to be 5 or 6 goes, didn't we?
We did
only 5 or 6 really, to be fair.
Pick the best one.
Yeah,
it was all pretty DIY. Took us a couple of hours in an afternoon in Ethan's factory. That
was it. Yeah, it was really about it was creativity within constraints in a way, because we spent a lot of money. I mean, I'm sure this conversation has come up whenever you talk to an unsigned band, but one of the big things of being in a band is the cost of it. And we put a lot of time and energy and money to get the single produced really well. But then when it comes to the videography, we've done big video shoots in the past with, you know, slightly higher budgets, but we wanted to really reflect, you know, the DIY nature of the scene that we're kind of involved in. And we want to show people that you don't have to always be spending lots of money to have these high quality products. Because we're in a YouTube generation, and you can just do a bit of Googling, get some creative ideas together. And so as long as your concept for your video is good, you can work a lot with, you know, phones, GoPros. You don't have to have all this kind of kit. So that's what we wanted to do with the idea of it. And so, yeah, we had this idea for this one take video shoot that, that kind of adds a small element of artsiness into it, and but works with what we've got. So it was, born out of how can we do this as cheaply as possible, and how can we still make this interesting? So that's what it was. Yeah.
I think it perfectly represents the new ethos of this band. We have spent so long in the past. If you're familiar with, we did a song called Demons in 2020. We shot quite a ambitious video for that over several locations with an actor, and it came out looking fantastic. And even the production on the song took us several days in the studio. We would overthink it. We were trying to be perfectionists. And then we've sort of realized that that's not how we work best. And by working in that way, it meant that we were taking 6 to 9 months between single releases, and it wasn't the kind of traction that we need. So we had this mindset switch last year, really encompassed by one of the previous singles. It doesn't matter. That's really the new mantra. Call to the faithful. We don't want to overthink. We want to create something. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. We need to keep producing, keep learning, getting content and new music and new videos out to people, and just playing shows and getting people to know who we are. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can just go into a factory for 3 hours on a Saturday morning, with a GoPro and a flashlight and a bicycle light sellotaped to a stick for lighting,
with kitchen roll over it as a filter.
To soften it up a little bit.
Literally, our manager held the light above the photographer, who then didn't realize she was going to be videoing the video as well. So she was videoing it, but we had them, and they were just turning
around like a big anglerfish.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I mean, when I watched the video instantly, I felt sorry for whoever it was that was filming as well, because I thought, God, they're going to be getting dizzy.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like you said, Matt, it is all about that momentum, and obviously, also, given the the meaning behind the song that the video is for, it would have been a bit hypocritical to have gone and splashed a load of money on a video for it, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So it works really well, and listeners need to go and check it out. Yeah, it's quite a cool video. So what has your feelings been towards the reaction to the problem? Obviously, reactions these days are pretty instantaneous with social media and everything. So, have you guys been following that? And what do you think the reaction has been to the song?
Yeah, people like it. I mean, we chose this song to record and release because it was getting a great reaction at shows. We've been playing it at shows for 6 months, and it always gets people moving and dancing. And it's the song that people come up and talk to you after the show, because it's got that the simple lyrics that people can relate to, that they can remember, that they can sing back at you. So we always knew that it was probably going to be the next single. And that has rung true. People are resonating with it. People are connecting with it, and they seem to be enjoying it. It certainly got people dancing again at the release show that we did 2 nights ago. So pretty pleased.
Yeah, the reaction at the release show, that was because it's not a moshy song necessarily, but it's a bop that had everybody bouncing. Like everybody in the room was vibing, riding the wave in that groove, and it just, you're right. It's just landing probably more better good than all of our other songs. And I think a lot of that seems to come down to the very chantable chorus. And the repetitive nature of it.
Yeah, certainly. Very catchy song, and I can just picture it live. And we'll stick with, because that was the next subject I was going to move on to, actually, the single launch show that you guys have just done. We're having a chat on Sunday, and you played the show on the Friday, so a sold out show, hometown show in Peterborough for the launch single, and also you had a number of other bands with you, and I did notice you had Mosquito playing with you, who we had on the podcast a couple of months ago. So obviously shout out to Mosquito.
I love those guys so much.
So cool.
How was the show, guys? Talk to us about the show.
Yeah, it was great. I think we've played some really cool shows this year. Like to say that we played at the Junction in Cambridge, and that was probably our favourite show to date. We played the station in Cannock, which was also really really memorable. With lots of people dancing and stuff. But I've got to say, Friday was probably the best show of the year. Maybe the best show. It was brilliant. The energy was there, the vibe was there. Matt had picked a really cool location. He came to us with this venue called Here We Are in Peterborough, run by a great guy called Barry. And we was like, check this space out. It's a cool space. Let's have a look.
I'd been there for a show in December. Saw our friend's band play there. And
was that Das Caps we saw there?
So Das Capitans play there. So when we were planning the single launch, we said, look, let's get somewhere, let's scale the show down. Let's take all of the energy of a Call to the Faithful show, and let's condense it into a small space. And I thought, I know exactly the place. Talked with Barry, the owner. So it's like 50 capacity. And that's a squeeze, So we got 50 people in there.
There's people out the door, weren't there?
Yeah. And it's just insane. I mean, we throw everything into all of our shows. They're always high energy, but when that's packed wall to wall and everybody's moving and jumping, it was sweaty, it was fierce, it was a lot of fun.
We were dripping afterwards, absolutely dripping. It was great.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
And there was even a crowd surf, which was quite funny. We got into the crowd and joined a mosh pit at one point, which I remembered yesterday. It was just brilliant. Yeah, just a really good show.
We did head out into town and carried on the celebration afterwards. Hence, I think we're still a little bit delicate.
Very jaded.
36 hours later, so some of the memories are a little bit fluffy, but from what I remember, it's pretty good.
It was a great ego boost for a couple of reasons as well, because we had on the day we had a couple of people messaging, "Oh, can we get tickets?" And I thought, sorry, it's sold out. You have to try them again. That was nice. And then we got to Met Lounge, and Steve, who owns Met Lounge, was there, and he was, it was really nice. He asked us how the show was. He was sort of really supportive, and then just said, what's it called, to the Faithful get in for free tonight, and their girlfriends all get in for free. And that was just lovely. And then I think Matt walked up, and she recognised, the lady at the door recognised him, stamped him without saying a word. It was a real big ego moment.
Yeah. I basically floated in. I was just on a close.
Excellent. I love to hear it. And those sweaty little DIY shows like that are the best shows. I mean, I've been to a couple of larger shows over the last few days, but I do love heading along to your local venue, checking out new local bands, and they are quite often the best shows.
All of the sport bands killed it. All of the sport bands killed it. You mentioned Mosquito. But Das Capitans as well, and Young Fatigue. Mosquito, they're like our new favourite band. They are destined. They're destined for like stadiums. I'm sure of it.
They're great. They are really, really. And they're lovely blokes as well. They're just nice.
Yeah, the whole night with all the bands that played, everybody mashed really well with their sounds, and then the crowd that was there. It felt like if you would get to get a Hollywood depiction of like the scene, whatever the start of the scene is, that was it. Like small venue, brilliant, really brilliant local bands, or just small bands, and it was a real magical thing.
It really epitomized that, just like DIY punk underground rock and roll show. It was sick.
And we've recorded it. We've got a GoPro.
Oh, excellent.
Of the whole show of our set.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair,
come on.
The ceiling was so low in the venue, the GoPro was rammed up to the ceiling, and then when a couple of crowd surfers went up, all you get is just like bodies filling the whole frame.
Excellent. No, yeah, chuff for you guys. And you guys have also been able to play a number of other shows since the pandemic. You had, I noticed, a little run of dates, including a show at the Met Lounge back in April, and heading down to London for a show as well. How has it been? I ask all bands still this at the minute, and I hope there'll be a point when I can stop asking it. But obviously, with the pandemic and the stopping live music and everything, how has it felt for you guys to get back out and play shows? What has it been like for you?
Great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been superb. We did a couple of socially distanced shows over the course of the pandemic. You know, like people's reduced capacities, seated. And that's not a call to the faithful show, you know. We did our best, but you know, we want to feed off the energy and the movement in the room. And
we're not suited to a jazz bar, are we? It's not that sort of.
But so yeah, it's been fantastic, and we did that little tour run, as you mentioned, 4 dates, and people turned up, and that was a fear as much as anything. You know, who's going to come out to these shows? Are people still nervous about COVID? And definitely there is some of that. I think that we're in a recovery phase, but it's getting there. People did turn up to the shows. We were astounded by the support that we got across those 4 shows, particularly at, you know, the Peterborough show, the Peterborough leg, and also the Birmingham leg. We kind of consider West Midlands as a second home. I'm from the West Midlands, a town called Cannock. We play Birmingham and Cannock. We do shows over there, and we always get really well supported. So yeah, it was great. And the festival appearances and some more shows are all starting to stack up for the summer. So really looking forward to just putting the last 2 years behind us.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is great to be back at shows. And that brings me on to the next segment that we have on the podcast, which we call Set List Science. So as you've headed back and started playing some shows again, you've obviously had to write some set lists. And obviously, you know, I'm guessing the one on Friday would have been probably quite a, you know, important one for you guys. So the question is, you know, how much importance do you put into the structure of a set list? And have you got any rules that you tend to follow?
I think the rules are only fast songs all the way through. So you plan a 40-minute set and you play it in 20 minutes.
These guys is strategy for writing a set list is, let's not give Matt 1 second to take a breath.
Not at all. If you can't breathe, just deal with it.
I mostly let these guys write the set list. I have one rule and one stipulation which they very kindly agree to, and that is at recent shows we open with "It Doesn't Matter," just because it's the hardest song to sing.
Right, get over and done with.
It stretches some of the range a little bit, so it's like it's not very forgiving. If we do 7 or 8 songs and then we try to put that in the back part of the set, if there's any vocal strain here, then I am getting exposed. So I'm like, let's do that first, get that out the way, and then.
But to be fair, that song really does kick the gig off. It's the real driving song. It's got a real cool riff, a real good. It's you know. It's
got a great intro that fits at the start with the build of just guitar and then the stabs. It works really, really well. So it's not really a constraint Beardy puts on us. It's just now the standard opener. Yeah,
which I like actually, because I think it does get people going. It gets people then to sort of like be prepared for what's their
and I think it's always good to open with one that people know, because I think that was our second most popular release since The Problem, because when we brought out just before it, and it was it was another kickoff in the latest version of the band as such, and that one, people responded really well to that one. So you know, it's great to kick off a show with one that people know, because if you're excited to see a band and then they open with a new one, the start's then delayed for people, particularly if you're at this scene where not everybody knows all your songs, or you haven't got them all recorded and out there. You need one to get people in right away. And close up that little D space of no man's land in front of the stage at all the small gigs.
I think as well that we have to then. What I like to, we've got a song called "Time," which isn't really our song. It's a song that Das Capitans wrote, and Matt sort of was sung on the song, and also wrote some of the lyrics. And they don't like it, so we nicked that. And that sort of slows the pace down a bit. And we've got like a ballady song called "The Other Side," and we sort of try and merge those songs together because it's sort of in the middle of the set. Because then we've got some real like fast, heavy songs at the end of the set, including a cover of "Break Stuff," which by Limp Bizkit, which really gets people fucking going. So like, we like that. I
thought I was gonna die during that on Friday.
Mate, it was mad, wasn't it? It was so mad, and but it does get the room going. It's a great song for it. And we did used to play Jesus. We once played Jesus. Well, a couple of times we played Jesus of Suburbia live. And I gotta say, if you want to try and work that into a set list as a cover, don't. We've done it and don't. It's just not worth it. Great song to practice with, but people get bored after about 4 minutes. And then you're playing it going, people aren't really into this anymore, are they?
We've still got another 9 minutes. 7 minutes left.
But we try and have a little reprieve, like right in the middle with Time and The Other Side, and try and let people catch a breath, and include Matt a little bit, but mainly the audience, just let them just sort of like just bop their heads for a little bit so they can really get down for the end of the set. Because what we like to do is we change the set around a little bit for the Problem, because we played that last, because obviously we were going to, because it was the single release show. But we usually would end on like Animals and something like that, which is another popular song of ours that people really like to get down to, and it really gets people going. So if we save them to the end of the set, I think then you've got the start of the set where you've got a song that hooks people in and it gets them listening. At the end of the set, you've got people then going away thinking, wow, I've had a really great time. Even if it's the last 2 songs, they might have fucking hated the rest of it, but the last 2 songs, they had a really great time. They're going away thinking they've had a really great time. And I think that's a real way of leading a show, And
I think you have to manage people's energy through the set. So as much as I say, I think my dream set would be attack, 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 attack. One slow song for a little bit of a break, and then more attack, 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 attack.
You're incredibly fit, Oscar.
Yeah, I think that's like before this podcast. Like all these guys are hanging out. I've been on a 2-hour bike ride this morning, so.
Well, we should also be working really hard during the set. Just attack, 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 attack. 2 hours. And we all like.
So I think managing the energy for the other guys in the band. Yeah. I think it's. If we're playing like a 8 to 10 song set, like the first 5 or 4 songs are hard and fast, hard and fast, hard and fast. Slow it down for 2 or 3, and then just for a small break, and then up into the last kind of, the last frenzy of the set. And then if you do have to change between the two, the thing that I've always thought could be, because you can play a set well and put all the songs in a good place, but if you don't link them well, it kills the flow of the set. And I've seen so many good bands, even like really quote unquote big bands, who like international touring artists, that they have not got, some of them just have not got the spaces in between filled. And some of my favorite punk albums and general shows are where you're assaulted from start to end by noise. And so you want to fill the spaces with feedback and and drone notes if you do have to take a little break, and then that will sit underneath Matt introducing the next song or doing a little bit of a talk. But you want the whole thing to be an experience that's tied together by some kind of thread all the way through. And I think that plays a big part into what songs you put in certain places. So if you're curating the perfect set list, you need to also think about how you tie them together. So guitars would if you need to change tunings, you want some noise in the background, like a delay pedal that you just turn on and it will like oscillate and give lots of noise, or like some kind of feedback or something like that. But yeah, the way you tie the songs together and make that common thread all the way through the show is almost just as important as about which songs go where in the set as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And so always a really interesting portion of the podcast to get that feedback, from the band on how to do that. I'm a bit of a setlist geek myself, so really, really interesting. And obviously listeners need to head along to a show. Listeners need to keep track with the band, because obviously there's more coming. I believe there's an EP coming down the line. So the best way for listeners to do that is to get on social media and obviously give the band a follow. So they can do that, and I've got my list here. On Instagram at Call to the Faithful, on Facebook at Call to the Faithful, and then on Twitter at CTTF Band. So obviously, you know, I guess you couldn't get the Call to the Faithful handle on Twitter. Gone. Oh, well, yeah, this happens, unfortunately, when I read these out. At least you guys have got two that are the same. Pretty easy to remember.
And Instagram as well is where we're most active. That's sort of where we live.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, so obviously listeners, yeah, definitely make sure you follow the band across social media. Make sure you check out the video for The Problem over on YouTube. We'll stick the link for that in the description of the podcast. And obviously, yeah, a lot of big things to come from the band. I'm delighted to have had you on the podcast. Thank you for giving me your time. What would be your final message for listeners?
Oh Christ.
The problem's not me. It's the bloody government.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's a new catchphrase that people should take into lives. Go and stream The Problem, and then go out into your day. And the moment anyone inconveniences you in the slightest, just take one pause, look at them, and scream, "The problem's not me. It's fucking you."
Yeah, and I think that is definitely the message that listeners should take forward. No, thank you all for joining me. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Call to the Faithful. Make sure you check out their single, The Problem. You can do so on our Discover New Music playlist over on Spotify, or you can find the video over on YouTube. Do also follow the band on social media, and of course, follow Full Pelt on social media. We are on Facebook at Full Pelt, and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And if you would, please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, wherever you're watching or listening. And we will be back soon with another episode of the Discover New Music podcast.